Hi Lisa, you okay?
Yes, thank you, Kirsty. How
Good,
are you?
good. I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Welcome to my first podcast today. Obviously, I've asked you to come along to discuss your charity, what you do. So, if you want to share that with me.
No worries. Yeah, so thank you for inviting me. I'm Lisa Thompson, and I'm Chief Exec of the Rape and Sexual Violence Project, or RSVP.
Okay.
And people may not have heard of us. We're Birmingham and Solihull's Rape Crisis Service,
Yeah.
and we've been established since 1978. So
Wow, long time.
probably, yeah, so we were set up in 1978 for adult survivors and only women at that time who'd been raped or sexually abused. And it was a helpline that was set up initially from a group of women's living rooms. They took it in turns to take the calls, and RSVP and all the services that we offer now has grown out of those early beginnings.
Right, okay.
So would it be helpful to kind of explain what we do now?
Yes, yep.
Yeah. So we've got a different name. So we call the Rape and Sexual Violence Project, not Rape Crisis,
Yeah,
but that is our roots and our history.
right.
And the reason why we changed our name was in the late 80s, we started to see men and boys as well. So we now support children and adults of all ages, both sexes and all genders,
Right.
from the age of 5 upwards. And we've got a variety of different services that we offer so people can thrive after sexual trauma and live with hope and confidence again. That's our aim, that our services aim to provide to the community.
Right, okay. Can I ask, how do they approach you guys? Is it done via social services? Is it done by the police? Or is it
Yes, variety.
referral?
Yep, all of those. So a variety of ways so people can self-refer, and we're working on our system so people can do that much more quickly and online. We also get referrals from the police. So we've got a service called Independent Sexual Violence Advocacy Service,
Yeah.
or ISVA. So those advocates support people who've reported to the police right up to when they get in the witness box and give their evidence in court. So though a lot of the referrals there would come from the police or from the sexual assault referral centre where you might go to have all your evidence captured. We also get referrals from doctors, social services, mental health services as well,
Right.
and schools and colleges might refer their pupils as well.
Wow, okay. So you do obviously cover a lot of different angles really, don't you, in regards to coming to you.
Absolutely,
Can
yeah.
I ask, if someone was to come to you, is there a waiting list or
So it varies.
right?
So if you come to our advocacy service and you want
Yeah,
support from reporting all the way up to court, if it goes that far,
yeah.
there's no wait for that service. So you could be seen by an advocate very quickly who could help you liaise with the police and the Crown Prosecution Service and all those criminal justice systems. If you want our social groups, which is you may want to meet others, socialise, connect, just kind of get out there and enjoy life again, there's no waiting times for that. But there is sadly a wait for our most in need service, which is counselling.
Right.
So
Yeah.
children who might need counselling, they could be waiting anything from 3 to 5 months. And adults who need counselling, they could be waiting anything up to 10 months. It would depend on where they want to be seen. So there are some of our sites, because we have outreach sites, where the wait is really short.
Okay.
But sadly, there is a wait because even though we're open 7 days a week, the need for the service is much more than our capacity, and then we're funded to deliver.
Right, okay, I get you. Okay. So what is the cost? I'll take it this is a free service?
Yep, absolutely. So all our services are free. There's no pressure to make a donation either, but people can do that if they want to.
Yeah.
But it's completely free, so we have to raise every penny ourselves. If people do want a quicker service and they're able to pay, so perhaps they're coming through their employer or they're able to pay privately for counselling themselves. Then we have got a sister organisation called Gina, which is set up and named after my own grandma, who I discovered was a rape survivor as a teenager but hadn't told anybody for the best part of 70 years. So yeah, that was quite a revelation. So I set up Gina, and people can have paid for counselling through there, and there's no wait for Gina's counselling.
Okay. So can I ask, is that what brought you to the service? Is that what?
No, so I trained as a social worker 88 to 1992, quite a while ago, and probably before some people were born. And I went into social work, but I chose the charity route. So in 1993, I started to work for victim support and supported survivors of abuse then. And then from 1999, I've been working for RSVP. And it wasn't until probably, I was a manager in 2000, probably 12 years later, I learnt about my grandma after she died. And she told my mum shortly before she died. And then my mum told me about my grandma's story. And it kind of made sense then. I knew that I was passionate about this work for a reason. Knew it was connected to my grandma, but it wasn't until that time that I could kind of explain why.
That must have been, for your grandma, horrific that she kept that inside her for so long. I can't imagine it, to be honest. That's really, that is really sad, isn't it?
I think, yeah, I mean, although obviously I was sad when I heard about that, and sad that she carried it alone. I think the flip side was she was quite a thriver. She ran her own businesses with my granddad. So although she'd carried that, she'd still had a really successful life. She'd had a family. She really valued family. She did a lot for charity. So there were lots of things that she was still able to achieve despite the trauma and challenges she went through. And I think that's true of most survivors. I suppose the sadness was about, if only she had felt it wasn't her shame and her secret to carry. And she may have had support sooner, but I guess it was quite different then. It's not easier now to speak out, but there were different societal responses, I think, that made it harder.
Of course. It's refreshing to hear that she didn't allow it to define a future, really. So she carried on as normal, which is, it's brilliant, isn't it? Some people can't do that, which I completely understand. Can I ask, you notice a change? Because you do it quite often, don't you? There's people that... There's a bit of a stigma around rape. Sometimes I find when you hear it, some people are like, well, did it actually happen? Or, when you watch certain shows and there's like questions around it. Do you think that's changed, or do you still think that there is that stigma still out there?
There's definitely still that stigma, although I've just reflected on how it might have been for my grandma. I think in some ways some things aren't any different, and I think the blaming of victims, which happens, people do blame children as well as adults, that still is rife, and lots of surveys show that many members of the public still think that in particular women are in some way responsible for what happened. There's also a massive misunderstanding about people who do make up allegations, and that's a really small percentage. So some surveys show 1%, some surveys show 4%, but it is never more than 4%. And actually that's no different to people who make up burglary for the insurance. And so it reflects all of the crimes, but people get that very wrong and overestimate and think that most people make it up, or it's much higher than it actually is.
To be honest, I'm quite surprised, because that is a very, very small percentage.
Absolutely, and actually the larger percentage of people get no justice whatsoever through the criminal justice system for things that have happened to them, because it is only around 10 to 15% of victims and survivors report to the police. So if you think about the other group of people, that means up to 85% of people don't, and that means they get no justice through the courts for what's happened, but they find justice and healing in other
Of
different ways.
course. And it is quite sad, really. I do think there are a lot of people out there that won't report it because of the stigma, and also because they think, why should I go through the stress going to court and if nothing happens? I do think that does need to change, because I do see a lot of stories and shared, and there are people, women, that think, well, what's the point in reporting it, because the person's going to get away with it, so why should I put myself through that? Which is really sad, really. It is sad, very, very sad.
It is. And I think, there's some of the reasons why people don't
Yeah.
report. Also, the wait for court is super long at the moment because of the impacts of COVID and having to pause all those
Yeah.
courts. And then when we did set them back up again, there was a backlog. So there's a growing backlog. And actually, we've supported one survivor who's recently got into court and given her evidence, but had waited 9 years from the time she reported to when she was in the stand.
That is a
9 years,
long
so
time.
no wonder people don't want to report. But the flip side is, if people do want to report, there's that support through our advocates at every step of the way.
Yeah.
Or people could report in different ways, so pass on anonymous intelligence, ring up Crime Stoppers and give some information that might help if it is a multiple or an offender who's committed multiple crimes. It might be that last bit in the evidence of other people who've reported. So there are different ways people can report, but if you're going through the traditional route, then you need support through our advocacy team. It's a long wait, and it's a lot of pressure to do it on your own.
Definitely, because some people haven't got the support of other people, they haven't got the family or friends, so they must be alone. So I suppose they come to yourselves for that extra support as well, because they probably need support, don't they?
And I mean, even if people have got family, then there's lots of processes, chasing of
Yeah.
professionals, knowing what's happening with the police and the Crown Prosecution Service, a lot of waiting. So different family members may need that support themselves as well.
Yes, definitely. I know you said that you help children, men as well, is it right in thinking men as well?
Yeah.
Have you noticed an increase in children or men, or is it kind of still the same in regards to figures, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, so the number of males that we support generally stays the same. So it's usually around 10, 11, 12%. We do know that it impacts more on women and girls. What I mean by impacts more is it's more women and girls that are the victims of these crimes. But we know that men and boys are affected too. So our figures kind of reflect what other services find. So, and children, we have got a growing number of children who are reaching us. We still know that there are thousands of children across Birmingham and Solihull who could have our services, but perhaps get support in other ways, or are keeping it to themselves and don't tell somebody until a lot later. But we have had a growing number of children approach us.
Okay, and is there a maximum age or a minimum age with children that can come to you or use your services, or?
So we directly support children from the age of 5 upwards, so that's where they could have counselling. Counselling looks very different for a 5-year-old. There'd be a lot of messy play and drawing and stories in order to sort of help that child express what's going on for them. We have supported younger children, but we do that through their carer, their parent. So we equip the parent or the carer to better understand what's going on for their little one if they're under 5. And sadly, we do sometimes get those referrals, and so they can better respond. And then when that child becomes 5, if they do need their own support, we could directly give that through counselling.
Right, okay. So can I ask, where do you get your funding from to support everything that you do?
Yeah, well, so it's really difficult. We get our, as you can imagine, in this kind of environment, charities are struggling.
Yeah.
We get funding from a variety of different sources. So we get some Police Crime Commissioner grants,
Okay.
we get some Ministry of Justice grants, we get some grants from people like the National Lottery. So people who play know that some of their money is coming to a charity like us. We also get funding through other trusts and foundations. So we've had funding in the past from Lloyd's. That bank has got a charitable arm. We also get some funding from corporates, and we had some brilliant support from you
Yeah.
and your
Yeah.
organisation. So that was
I think that was a
fantastic.
while ago,
And we
what, 2
offer
years ago now.
time
Look.
flies,
And
yeah.
I was like, oh my God, that's 2 years ago. It's such a long time.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
It just shows you time
it does, doesn't
flies.
it?
And we also offer training as well,
Yeah.
so that's another way that we raise funds. And also corporates could buy in training from us or do challenges and events. So we have skydiving opportunities. Any way in which we can raise those funds, we do. So we've got some really creative ways coming up in the future. So in November, we've got a play that is going to increase awareness around sexual violence and abuse, and we're one of their partners. So there's all sorts of different ways we try to get that message out there, but also raise funds as well.
And when will the information regarding that, when will that be out? Because I can share that for you.
Oh, that would be lovely. Yeah, we're putting that out next week,
Okay.
so there'll be some news out next week.
Yeah.
We've got a corporate quiz next week by one of our supporters. So we're one of Lodder's Charity of the Year. So Lodder's is a solicitors firm. So we've got a quiz, a Halloween quiz next week. So there's all sorts of things going on, and people can either sign up to our newsletter on our website. That's only received once a
Yeah.
month, so we won't bombard you, or follow us on socials, and we've got stories and different posts going on that give you this information.
So you are very busy then?
We
Yeah.
are, sadly. We'd love to do ourselves out of a job, because our kind of vision of the world is a world free from sexual violence and abuse. Now, obviously, that would be really difficult to achieve, but we do actually achieve that for individuals. So, individuals have a world, their own worlds that are free from sexual violence and abuse. So, if we can do that one step at a time, that's how we'd like the world to be,
Wow.
really.
Yeah.
But yes, sadly, at the moment, then we're really busy.
So what is your average day? So when you come into work, what do you actually do every day? Does it vary?
Uh, Yeah, I mean, as a CEO, it kind of varies a lot. So I have to do a lot of financial things. We
Yeah.
might have to do salaries, look at funding, help our head of fundraising to monitor and evaluate our services and report back to our funders on how many people we've seen. I sometimes chat to survivors, sometimes little kids who are being seen run into the office, have a chat with me.
Oh,
We might do staff team meetings. We have leadership meetings where we make policy decisions. So yeah, it can look very varied. I also sit on a number of strategic groups, so I work with the police to drive out sexual harassment in their workplace, and also work with other corporates because they have a legal duty to create an environment where sexual harassment doesn't happen in their workplace. So there's now a new duty as from last year for employers to make that happen, so make that safe environment happen and prevent sexual harassment.
have you noticed
So yeah,
have you seen an increase with that?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. But I think it's always happened.
Mhm.
But I think when we moved online more due to COVID, I think the way in which it happened changed.
Okay.
And I think as well there's more of a merging of boundaries between private space and home space, where sometimes that sexual harassment is happening on work dues or in your own social media and your
Right.
own
Okay.
DMs.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a changed way that it's happening, but yes, sadly it is still there.
So can I ask, the charity you help and support rape victims, but it can be anything from rape to emotional abuse. Am I right in thinking that?
So our focus is around any form of sexual offence. So it could be sexual harassment, it could be a sexual assault, it could be rape, it could be child sexual abuse or child sexual exploitation. It could be a sexual offence within a domestic abuse relationship. So it's any form of sexual offence.
Okay.
But like those examples, there's often emotional abuse in
Yeah,
there.
of
There's
course.
often coercion and control. There also might be where it's used as a rape used as a weapon of war when asylum seekers are fleeing their own country where there's unrest and war happening.
Yeah.
And it often people have been subjected to other forms of crimes as well, forced marriage, FGM, domestic abuse. So, but our focus is around the sexual violence, but you can't deal with that solely in
Of course,
isolation.
yes, of course.
Sexual violence often does involve that manipulation, the grooming, the coercion, and that emotional abuse that you mentioned.
Okay. So if somebody was watching this now that needed some support or wanted to reach out, is there anything that you'd say?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to suffer alone. You can reach out for support if you want to, but support could look very different for you compared to another person and another person. So, a lot of people who are survivors of sexual violence will never see them at RSVP because they're gaining support from their friends, their families. They're doing things that might help them release some of the trauma. So sometimes people do physical activities and all those activities that really improve your well-being. So people have got to decide that coming to RSVP and having the services we offer is right for them. And if it isn't right, then they can create a package of healing and a journey towards them feeling more confident and hopeful after what they've been through. That package could look really different for them. So yeah, I suppose what I'm saying is create a package that works for you, and if you want to approach us, we'll happily speak to you, talk about what we can offer, or if we're not right for you, what other services
Of course,
can
yeah.
offer as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
I
probably
think,
direct them to somewhere else if
yeah,
they felt that RSVP wasn't right for them, or you felt that they'd benefit from something else.
definitely, yeah. And I suppose the other message is to people where they haven't been impacted directly, just to say that you might have a loved one that you know about has been impacted. You can be a massive ally and support to that person. You may have a relative who you don't know about, like I didn't know about my grandma straight away, that has been a survivor. And again, you can still be supportive to that person if you see they're having struggles, even if you don't know what that's about. But even those who don't know anybody who's been a survivor or been through sexual harassment, and actually probably most of us do, you can still be a massive ally. You can do things for RSVP, raise funds, but you can also challenge rape culture, challenge jokes, challenge when your mates might be harassing somebody or speaking about a woman in an unkind or sexualised way. We can all be part of that change and movement, so there's
Definitely.
something that we can all do.
Definitely. Okay, well, I just want to say thank you so much for today. It's been lovely speaking to you and learning more about the charity. Is there anything you need from me right now?
No, just to say a massive thank you, Kirsty, and to Pure staff for being an amazing support for us. And thank you for the
You're
invitation.
very
You're the first
welcome.
guest.
I
It's
know,
amazing.
first one. Hopefully we can support you again in the future. Keep doing what you do.
Thank you,
Have a good
Kirsty. Have a good
afternoon.
day.
Bye bye.